stop. Tempted by the fruit of another.
We're live.
We're live, baby. Hey, everyone. Welcome to That Pedal Show. Viewers, comments, and questions. Dan here.
Nick here. Guten Abend to our friends in Germany and other German-speaking places of the world.
Very good. Very happy birthday to young Michael. It was his birthday on the weekend.
It was. On Saturday,
Did you have fun?
I had a great time.
That's lovely.
I feel like I haven't done something, but I guess we'll know in due course if I have not done something properly. I do need to find my phone because BV's going to be trying to get in touch with me. Hello everyone, welcome to Viewers, Comments and Questions. Yeah, Dan, here's a Tyrannosaurus Rex for you.
Oh, thank you.
No worries.
That's what I always wanted.
We say hello, good evening and welcome to Viewers, Comments and Questions. If you're new, welcome. We'll be answering predominantly from the super chats, but we will dive into the regular chat too. We say a large thank you to BV for moderating and being in there among the chat and all of that. Thank you so much, BV. We
Yes,
really
BV.
appreciate it.
What a legend.
And yeah, welcome. Hopefully you can see and hear us. Nice.
Dinosaur tuning. Yeah, hope you all had a good weekend. The video on Friday was the 12-string Dansania.
Triceratops?
Oh, really? That's lovely.
Stegosaurus?
How are you? Where are these coming from?
Well,
Did you see toy dinosaurs and think we need these in our lives?
They're exactly like the real thing.
They are.
They're exactly like the real thing.
Yeah.
But they're much more convenient because they're smaller. You can fit them in your car.
Okay. Right.
And because they're so small, you can have all three in one handy package. You don't need 3 full-size dinosaurs. But other than that, they're exactly the same. Exactly. Look. I have heard it said, tell us if this is true, paleontologists. The gap between Diplodocus and Tyrannosaurus is longer
than Tyrannosaurus
and
and
us.
humans. Yes, that's right.
Mad, isn't it?
That is correct.
Tell you what's mad about time.
What's that?
There's loads of it. Anyway, there you go. I just think they're great.
They're great. They are great.
Who doesn't love a dinosaur?
That's wonderful.
How did we get onto that? Anyway, welcome. If you are new, sorry. Actually, I haven't checked if anyone can actually hear us yet. Zoot Alert says, Mick, have you been smoking? No, I haven't.
Did you have a relaxing weekend?
It was fantastic. We had a really, really splendid weekend.
Awesome.
Short story. Had a day off on Friday. Went to a cider farm. Organic cider farm.
Wow.
Where your apple cider
That
vinegar
was
came
lovely.
from.
That was brilliant. Thank you, mate. That's really kind.
Catherine hired a beach hut on Lyme Regis Beach, which was deserted. And there we were on Lyme Regis Beach. Beautiful sunny day, wrapped in blankets.
That's the most British thing I've ever heard.
Cup of tea, bit of cake. It was flaming great. And then in the evening, went to see the Jess Upton Band, who's some very old friends from very many years ago in Bridport. And we just had a wonderful time. I saw people I haven't seen for decades.
Oh, that's brilliant. Did you know that was happening?
It was really lovely. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, we'd arranged with some mutual friends to go there and be part of that happy throng, and it was really, really lovely. And then yesterday I had a rehearsal with the old band.
That's awesome.
It was great. It was really, really good. Anyway, sorry, enough about us. Let's talk about us.
What do you think about us? I had my band rehearsal last week as well.
And how was that on Wednesday?
Was wonderful. Yeah.
With all members in attendance?
Present and accounted for.
Great.
It was brilliant fun.
Any petty squabbles and interpersonal problems emerging?
No.
Yet? Oh, right.
No. No, Paddy, bless him, drove all the way up for rehearsal. And it was just so much fun because we all really dig the music.
Yeah.
And it was everyone's really into it. It was great. It's just lovely to play with Doug again.
Yeah.
I just love that man.
So good, isn't it? It's so good to make a noise, make an analog noise together. It's a wonderful, 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 inexplicable experience.
I do have to rethink the high watt.
Yeah.
It honestly, that's the sound. There's no question in my mind that high watt is the sound. But like that is so very much so.
Too loud.
Just so loud.
Yeah. Dan and I were discussing a bit of a realisation about volume. You know, regular viewers will know we like it loud, right? Actually, while I'm considering that anecdote, let's say hello to Daniel Thornton, to Amish Trivedi, to Simon V. RDJ.
Yes, good day, mate. Chris Quinn, Old Man Clan Music, Elias Bloom, and Jeremiah McCann.
Hey, Eli. Jeremiah, nice to hear from you, buddy. Marvin Box is on, Ron Dark is on, Johnny T.
High Watt Official is on. Come on.
Tim Chalmers, Todd Roy, Scott from Baltimore, Music Therapy Laz, lots and lots of lovely friends. Great to see your names. Eagle Ray Rob, hey buddy, how are you? Adam Lockett, Byron Krause's Big Dog, obviously. Moon is on. Great. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. We are indeed blessed to have you here.
Yes.
I am going to turn the super chats off because it does feel like we may have a tangent or two this evening.
Oh, we started with the dinosaurs, Mick. Everything is tangential from there.
Tangent-esque. It has logged me out though, so that's good.
That's good. That's nice.
That's good. Anyway, no, the realisation that I think I had and shared it with Dan, and I think you broadly agreed. You know, we like it loud, right? The whole 4x12 thing, all of that. And I actually think what I'm trying to recreate is the physical movement of what happens when you're in a band. Because once you've felt that, when the bass is going and the drums are going and everything's going, and you're in a physical connection with that,
yeah,
through vibration, through resonance, through all of those things, through whatever comes through your lug holes. And when that's not there and you're playing on your own, I would then want it all 10 times louder, so it's there.
Yeah.
But then when you take that sound to the band, it's too much. That said, I did try the Marshall yesterday.
I bet it sounded great, right? Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
The high watt's the amp. There's no question for me that's the amp. But there's a couple of things I'm going to try, and the next time we film, Celestion are setting up a couple of their new attenuated speakers, and because here's the thing, I have struggled with attenuators because what's the one missing thing that isn't working?
The speaker. But so Celestion have designed this new speaker that's super low efficient, so it's like minus 30 dB or something. So a cranked high watt into that should be just about right. It's going to be fascinating.
It's going to be fascinating.
There's no doubt whatsoever. We do have to investigate some lower volume solutions. So let's see.
Yeah.
I'm just worried that without the air moving, it's just.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Anyway.
But the speakers are working, and I heard them at NAMM, and I thought they sounded great. So we'll see. But it'll be a fun show because there's been a few things come out that will be interesting in our situations to try and just get a grip. But I just nudged the high watt up a little bit, and it just goes,
Hello.
oh man, it's so good. But then was just, it's a 76 100 watt DR 103, and they are one of the most brutal amps ever
It's loud.
made. It's so loud, but what a noise! It's the cleans. It's that crystal top end,
Same.
and it's like that's it.
Michael Himes says it's called the Celestian Peacekeeper.
The Celestian Peacekeeper.
Great
There you
name.
go.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, same with the Plexi, the 100 watt Plexi I've just bought. It's the same. It's the clean thing that is just so
Magical.
enveloping. We have done a show on feedback, and we get into discussing that a little bit. That whole relationship between resonance and all of that, and blah blah blah. Anyway, let's move right along, shall we? Plexico is first in this week. Duncan, thank you as always, buddy. He says, Happy St. Patty's Day.
Oh, is that today?
Yeah, 17th of March. It is indeed St. Patrick's Day. The patron saint of Patrick's.
Yes, he was the patron saint of quality footwear.
Yeah. That's a Spinal Tap gag, isn't it? It is. Yeah, so if you're having a pint of Guinness today or some other kind of stout, enjoy, and happy St. Patrick's Day to those of you who celebrate it.
Yes.
G. Barge, hello G. Professors Daniel and Michael, PhDBs. Very nice, Greg. I've been feeling content with what I have lately.
Yes.
Should I be alarmed? It isn't like me at all. How long will it last?
No, well, it won't last long, but enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it while it's there.
Grasp that moment.
So there's a book called Want What You Have.
Right.
And it's part of the whole philosophy.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful thing to be content with what you've got. It's I've every now and then I go there as well. Rarely. I mean, look. But it's really, really cool, man. So that's great. Sit in that place as long as you can.
It's also profound because it's being present and conscious.
That's right.
Because if you are present and conscious, you can't want. Want is not possible in the present moment.
Right.
And so that whole want what you have, I would go a step further and say don't want anything.
Yeah.
And stop wanting things.
Right.
If you're going to be truly philosophical about it. But of course, it's not exactly how we work as humans, is it?
No. But that's a less catchy book title.
Yeah. Yeah. Really difficult subject that will take you probably 10 years to even start getting your head around.
New York Times bestseller.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it won't last long. It won't last long. But it's... Oh. Yeah.
Did you see they've announced the release date for Spinal Tap 2?
Have they?
It's in September.
April the 1st?
September, I think, 25th, I think.
Oh, cool. We should go to the premiere or whatever. Or at least
Where?
go down to Froome Cinema and watch it. You can still get a beer in Froome Cinema.
Can you? So there. I'm so there.
There's a nice one in Bath as well that you can just order some food and have a beer at the cinema. That for anyone in the US where that might be normal, it wasn't normal here for a long time to be able to have a beer at the movies. You call them, don't you? The
Scott
movies.
Curry says September 12th. Thank you, mate. Yes, September 12th. There you go. Birthday adding.
Michael Giliberto. Hello, Michael. He says, greetings all. You have a modest-sized pub gig. You have a choice of 1 amp and 1 guitar, small board, maximum 3 gain stages. Which 3 do you go to today and in what order? You can change your mind tomorrow.
Medium-sized pub gig.
Mine would be the same if it was a medium-sized pub gig
Yeah.
or a full-on TPS medium-sized pub gig.
Yeah. You go.
I'm all about the tube driver again at the moment. I'm using it and it just sounds great, the BK Butler tube driver. I'm very intrigued to see if the new Venus by Crazy Tube Circuits could oust it because of its considerable physical advantage, being much smaller and not requiring extra mains power and all of that. We did it. We've done it in a show, and it took a minute. We didn't love the sound of it to begin with, and then it seemed like it warmed up and burned in a bit through the show. And then by the end of the show, it was sounding flipping spectacular. So I don't know if that was something to do with the tube.
No, I think it is, because I had a similar experience. I was trying out a new Kingsley pedal at the rehearsal. I turned it on, and I'm like, where's the magic?
Yeah.
And anyway, went and did something, came back 5 minutes later, tried it again, and there it was. And it was
truly magic.
Ace.
Okay, so tube driver in the middle, and then I want something either side of that. So I want something boosty before it and something boosty gainy after it. So before it, I'm going to choose any boost, but today I'm going to choose the Argo Boost Deluxe because it's coming out on Friday.
Oh, fantastic.
By Mythos and that pedal show. And you can read all about it hear all about it on Friday, where we tell the story. But I'm using that's on my board currently. And then
that's before
yeah,
judo,
probably.
Yeah.
Or probably before. So that I can run the tube driver a little bit less gainy and a lot louder.
Okay.
And then boost into
headroom.
it.
Yes, lovely.
And then after that, I've been using a couple of things, but principally Simon Jarrett built a pedal called the Balladeer, which is basically the back end of a Juggler Mark version 3. And I'm loving those two things together.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So mine is...
Lots of valves in there.
Lots of valves. So mine is the Harlot, the Kingsley Harlot. I'm trying out a new Kingsley pedal at the moment, which I am loving, but it's got sort of a prototype that Simon's working on, but it's like a slightly modded Harlot. But anyway, the Harlot I think is extraordinary, and I would probably have a treble booster in front of it and something like a Bad Bob boost, like a full range boost after it. So the treble booster gives me my mid push, but a lot more gain. And the Bad Bob's a little bit gritty, but it's full range. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the sort of thing that works for me.
Yeah.
And the Bad Bob keeps finding its way onto the board.
Yeah.
It's so
good
great.
Boost is
really good.
I never used one for years, and then I started putting an EP boost on quite regularly and just loving it. And then what's happening in the Argo Boost Deluxe is doing all of that. So it's like perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And Octafuzz, obviously.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you for that question, Michael. So same approach though. Main thing in the middle, boost before and after.
Yeah.
And that seems to get a whole bunch of nice textures. Oh man, we in the band we're doing my old band we're doing Remedy by Black Crows.
Oh, cool.
We were playing it yesterday. I had the Marshall and the 345 and full on Rich Robinson and Mark Ford, 2 guitars, rock, and it's like this is movement. Sorry, I was just thinking about the tube driver and just rock.
Awesome.
Rock.
There's another guitar player?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my old buddy Steve.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Alex241, hello Alex. 2 for 1 Alex's. He says, as one does, I'm chasing the page tone on the first album. What recommendations do you have for a tone bender and an echo? Please discuss. Again, from upstate New York. So Alex is talking about Jimmy Page, I would assume, and Led Zeppelin, the debut album from Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Which one is that? Is 2 is my favourite, I think.
Yeah, so you need a Telecaster, obviously.
And then he had a modded Supro, didn't he?
Yeah.
Was that record?
Yeah. He used lots of small amps to record, or plug straight into a desk. The Supro is a really good shout. I would also say...
There's a lot of information online about exactly what had happened to that amplifier, because it had been modded.
Yes, okay.
I can't recall it from my brain.
As far as a delay is concerned, I'm going to say...
Obviously, you need an Echoplex.
You need an Echoplex. I would even go so far as to say the new Echofix EFX3, because you get that tape delay and the small tank spring reverb.
But if you don't have, what are they? $3,000,
Yeah.
$2,000. Get a Belly Pop Deluxe. That's what I've been using.
They're
That's
only
back
1,500 quid.
back on my board,
Right.
and that
Have you just come to know what the knobs are? Because I've never, in full light, I can't read what they say.
on the one that I've on my board, which to be
Okay.
fair doesn't sound as good as this one.
Right.
You can read the knobs. It's got the different.
That's what it is
The
then.
new livery. Well, I put them on here. Look, FT.
Oh, okay.
So the Catlin Bred Bell Epoch and actually just the standard Bell Epoch would be a really good shout. It's a good recreation of a vintage type tape echo, and they really do sound good. This one is particularly good. It includes the sort of preamp sound that it had, and you've got some different options on some different sounds. And so any sort of reasonably faithful tape delay simulator, and that would also include the Strymon.
The new Echoes, the Strymon EC1, the new small one.
I haven't seen
Sounds
that.
amazing.
What's the one that everyone's got though? The El Capistan.
the El Capistan? That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
It's really, really
Yeah.
good.
And we'll just say the reason we're saying tape echo as opposed to an analog echo, an analog, of course, we're massive fans, but all the echo sounds on that album are tape, or I'm not sure if there's echo rack on there, but the tape thing,
could even be real, couldn't it? Could even be a room reverb.
yeah,
Room
but
echo.
the tape thing is full of frequency,
Yeah.
longer repeats, and when you get to analog delays, the longer the repeats, the less fidelity you have in the repeat. So a good tape emulator will be the way forward.
David Rustad says normal Bell Epoch has the preamp sound too. Thank you, David. I didn't know
great.
that. Didn't know that. Right, and then tone benders then. God, it's difficult, isn't it? Because presumably, if you go online and you search this, they'll tell you exactly what tone bender Jimmy Page used, and we will know.
Mm-hmm.
But the genesis of the tone bender happened lightning quick.
Very, very quick. Yep.
So it went Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, and then somewhere between that became Mark 1.5, and that wasn't necessarily in order. And the 1.5 is probably the one you want to avoid, because that's the most fuzz face like, because it only has 2 transistors, whereas all the others have 3 transistors. That was the tone bender sound.
That's right.
So you want a solar sound one, or you want one of the
you want a Mark II. Really.
cheese shaped ones.
Yeah.
What's your mate with a moustache? Makes really good ones in the band.
Mate with a moustache.
Bass player.
Oh, for Fu Manchu.
Is he a bass player?
Yeah.
Creepy fingers. Creepy fingers effects, depending on where you are.
Awesome tone
world.
benders.
Make
Yep.
a really great one. Marcus
Yep.
Reeves makes really great ones. If
Yep.
you could, if there's any available.
Yep. Steve at Pig Dog. Awesome tone benders.
But you definitely don't want to get into Mark 3,
no,
because then you're sort of stepping towards
that's a burn buzz around.
yeah, and
Fully distortion.
I'm not saying it's the same thing, but a step towards the Big Muff thing, because it's much fuzzier and woollier.
Yeah.
And whereas the Mark IIs are much more aggressive distortion pedal, aren't they? This is mad but expensive.
Oh, they're wonderful. The
BAE Royal Tone. If all that cash in your pocket's weighing you down.
Yeah, it's the mid range thing in that, which is wonderful.
BAE Royal Tone, that was called. And man, you could do serious work with one of these.
Completely.
Even though it's not the same thing.
Well, he does a tone bender.
Colour
version,
driver.
But that thing, because we filmed with that last week, and oh man, that's such a powerful pedal.
It's great. I mean, that'll do clean boost through to absolutely hurt me
Outrageous
won't it?
fuzz. Yeah.
It's all too much fun, Dan. That's the trouble.
Yeah. That was a really fun show.
Yeah.
That fuzz show.
I did the audio. It sounds great.
Yeah.
Someone's asking, when can we expect to see the Crazy Tube Circuits Venus versus Tube Driver video? Would love to see what you boys think. We filmed it on its own, Daniel, without the tube driver, so you can hear it on its own. That'll be out in a couple of weeks. And then I'm going to decide whether it's fair to do it versus the tube driver.
Okay.
Because it sounds very, very different from my tube driver.
Right, okay.
And I don't know if my tube driver is typical. It's quite a lot harder edged. The compression is completely different.
Okay.
But it might be it just needs another 10 hours playing. And it might be that my tube driver doesn't sound typical at all. And I don't know what the answer to that is. So.
Yeah. I have to, the modern BK Butler that I've got, I think they sound closer than the Venus.
Right.
But again...
So far.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah.
Because I was listening to some demos of the Venus online, and it sounds great.
I can hear the edge though.
Yeah.
Listen to John Cordy's demo, and I can hear that quite hard edge on everything.
Right.
Which is not bad, by the way.
Yeah.
But mine is soft. Everywhere is soft on mine. It's got, even no matter where you set the bias control, it sounds soft.
Yeah.
The sort of gritty edge of the note. And again, I don't know if that's typical or not.
Sure.
Yeah. Jolly good. Right, let's keep going on. Raf Freitas. Hello, Raf. Hi from Philly. What gear under 1K would you put on a most fun list? Would it be an automaton, or perhaps a vintage analog drum machine, Boss MA1? What would it be if you had $1,000, Daniel, 1,000 whole American dollars to spend, and you wanted to have fun in a guitar sense? What would you do?
Oh boy.
I'd buy a Squire baritone. And a delay pedal.
Yeah. Oh man, it's a tricky one.
We've got this tuned down to D at the moment. And a rattly saddle.
I'd take that $1,000 and I would go to Ranger Effects, David Ranger, and I would give him the $1,000 and say, send me whatever I can get from your stuff for $1,000. And then just have fun.
Including rocket taking off.
Rocket taking off.
Flanger.
The Drone Ranger delay.
Yeah.
His stuff is so much fun. So that's a really interesting question, and it's quite deep actually.
By the way, that's a West Valley Guitars. West Valley is the brand name. Hello, Josh, if you're watching.
Valley girl. It's a very interesting thing because fun. If you're having fun while you're playing and practicing, it's meant to be fun. And sometimes when I'm in the middle of heavy song learning and stuff at the moment, and I am loving it, but it's work. I'm looking forward to, like, the rehearsals are really fun, but they're still work. And once we know the tunes and everyone can just relax and have fun with it, that's great. But the thing with finding sounds that you can just have fun with, you're not trying to dial in tones and nail things, you're just being inspired. And I think Ranger Effects are particularly good at that because you play outside yourself because you're not playing with anything that you're familiar with.
That's why I went for the baritone, because it's something completely it's relatively unfamiliar, and you'll find yourself playing things on it that you've never played before.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully having fun soon. Brian Carpenter says, the Venus demos I've seen make it sound great. Yeah, we don't want to suggest that it doesn't sound great, Brian. That's not what we said at all. It does sound fantastic, great. And it sounded particularly excellent by the end of the video. Yeah.
Hobo Roadie said, you really need 2,000 for a decent choice around here.
Thank you for the question, Raf. Andrew R says, I moved my micro pog. Now it pops when turned on. I've got a strobo stomp with the buffer on into the pog, a 3-leaf chromatron, and before all of that is an OC2. Oh, I see. Sorry. Yeah. None of that really matters, Andrew. Sorry for not reading it all out. Basically, you've moved the pog, and it now pops when you turn it on and off. You've had no other changes to your wiring. The power's all isolated. What's going on?
Which pog is it? They're all a little bit different. So what that would suggest, if you've got, okay, popping is a very interesting thing. There's a couple of things that cause it. If you've got a pedal that's true bypass, right? Imagine that, this isn't the way it works, but imagine that you've got a DP-DT foot switch stands for double pole, double throw, which means you've got 2 poles and they throw in either direction. So let's say here's your pole, and we're throwing from the effect to true bypass, right? So when we go click, effect is on. When you hit your foot switch, true bypasses. What happens between the effect being true bypass to the effect being on is that you have this gap where the pole is traveling, where depending on the bypass, if there's nothing connected, which there really shouldn't be, then you've got a part where it's open circuit. Now, if you've got a DUF capacitor or whatever, you've got leaking DC somewhere, once you disconnect and there's no earth reference, that leaking DC can lift, and once it joins to the circuit again, that will go down to ground. And what will happen is, where it touches and goes down to ground, you perceive that as a pop, because it can float up, to volts and bang. So that can be a pop. The other thing is, if I'm going from true bypass and the phase of my signal is one way, and I go here and my phase is the other way, what can happen is, let's say I switch while my signal is going through 0, then you're not going to hear any difference. But if I switch when my signal is at the utmost, then you're going to go bang, boop, down to the other side, and you'll perceive that as a pop. So any instant drop or change, it even though it's DC, it comes out as AC because it's happening over time. So you get that sound. It's something that pedal people have been trying to design out for ages, and there's a few ways to do it. But if you've moved, let's say you've moved your POG, and you've now got it so that it's after a buffer, and it might be the last true bypass pedal in the chain, then you could well be noticing that bang, because you don't have a constant output impedance. It could be changing the impedance, it could be changing if you've got leaking DC on there, for whatever it is. It might be that where you had it before, you had a buffer after it that kept it in check.
He's got a buffer after it now.
He's got a buffer after it now.
Yeah, because it's before his tuner.
So, okay.
Oh no, sorry. Buffer is before the POG.
Right, well there you go.
Try the tuner after the pog.
Exactly that. Put
There you go.
put the tuner after the pog.
See if that solves
It doesn't matter. Keep the pog where you want it in your signal path, but just put the tuner after it.
Because it doesn't matter where the tuner goes.
Exactly.
Kind of.
Sorry, that took a while.
Okay. I hope that was clear. Put the tuner after the pog, leave the buffer on. See if that makes any difference.
Very good.
Hello, Sailor Effects Official. Hello, Joe. Good to hear from you, buddy. He says, hey guys, any XL Sage Green hoodies coming back? My pedal board is boutique, my wardrobe not so much. Also, how about an Everything Sounds Better through a 412 hoodie? I'll take two. One for me and one for the nearest skeptic. Yeah, will we have any more Sage? I'd need to ask Catherine about that. Quite often we'll get stuff, it'll be really popular and then it's out of stock with the wholesaler, which is what's happened on the overshirts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we're struggling for colours on the overshirts, but yes, I will forward that up the chain. I will escalate that request, and thank you, Joe, for buying stuff. It's a big deal, buddy. Thank you, and anyone else as well who does. Legends, says Chris Costabile. This super chat goes to 11 US dollars. Bless you, mate. In order to find out how TPS intends to commemorate the release of Spinal Tap 2, the end continues. I expect more than a 2-word review.
That's just nitpicking, isn't it? Oh, man.
Yeah, well.
We will have to,
we should have some sort of party.
Okay. Yes, we should. And we'll have to do some sort of, like, review of it.
Yeah.
That's a show. That's a show, right?
With a commentary. Oh, look, there's the logo. No, it's too small. No, it's too small. If you've never watched Spinal Tap with the commentary on, please do.
I prefer broccoli. It's got a better shape. I'll never forget, just before lockdown, Rabia was over at Mix and he was staying over. We were filming with him the next day and he'd never seen Spinal Tap before. So we put it on.
We made him watch it.
And we were laughing so hard and he's just looking at it going, you are insane.
Well, he couldn't hear the film because every line was getting quoted before it was said. And he's like, I don't get it.
I just feel like we're one with the band. There's no division.
Anyway, Chris, watch this space is all we can say. Oh.
Yes, our dear friend Michael.
Into America.
Don't. Boy. Yes, because of course, you know, Nigelson Hubbins, our close friend.
Davidson Hubbins.
Davidson Hubbins even. Nigelson Hubbins, there you go. Davidson Hubbins, our close friends. Oh, could you imagine a pedal show with Nigel and David?
Oh, and Derek. It'd just be
the best. Man, that would be. We could do that and put a line under it.
That's
and
it.
Go,
We're done. We're done.
There was no need to do anything else.
You can't dust for vomit. Anyway, okay. Amish Trivedi is on. Yeah, watch this space, Chris. Amish Trivedi is on. Hello, Amish. He says, or Amish. I'm sorry if we've said that incorrectly. My wife got the academic equivalent of maid this weekend and bought me a present. A Greer Moonshot Germanium Treble and Mid-Pre. Any tips on using this thing? Well, that sounds like a treble booster to me. I don't know if it is.
What's it called?
A Treble Moonshot Germanium Treble and Mid-Pre.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so somewhat similar to the Analog Man Beano boost. You can use it as a straight Rangemaster type treble booster. See Brian May, see Rory Gallagher. Or you can put a bit more bottom end into it and have it as an all-range booster. Now, Dan is a massive fan of treble boosters, and he will tell you now how to get the classic treble booster sound.
So what you want to do is stick it before a gain stage, And the gain stage doesn't have to be super gainy. I like it when it's just a little bit of grit. But by putting the treble booster into it, what you're doing, you are hitting that gain stage with a lot of level and these frequencies that just takes out a little bit of bottom end and puts all this mid-range and upper mids in there. And for that singing violin tone, it's the best. It's the best. I'm a big fan.
So Evan Ward's just come in with Saucy Jack.
Saucy Jack,
He's
you're
a
a
naughty
naughty
one.
one.
Saucy Jack, he's a haughty one. Yeah, so that's way number one. Put it in front of either an overdriving amp or another overdrive pedal. And what it'll do is it'll send that overdriving amp or overdrive pedal into the most beautiful, fluid, liquid. You know, think of Brian May. That's exactly what's happening. Treble booster, AC30, all day, right? That's way number one. What you don't want to do quite so much is put it into a clean amp because it will just sound thin and nasty and you might wonder who could ever use that sound. Now, if you put the bottom end all back in and you use it as a straight boost, you can just use that anywhere else you use a boost.
That's right.
And it's a wonderful thing for that.
Really, really great.
Yeah, but I suspect if it is anything like the Analog Man Beano boost, and my apologies if it's not, but if it is, it still always has that quite heavy upper mid focus. And even though they're called treble boosters, they very often push the much more vocal mids, like 1 to 2K, in a really like that, in a really, really nasal way, which, to make the point again, can sound very odd on its own, but into another thing, absolutely brilliant. And of course, one of the reasons for them in the first place was when you get a vintage amp and you crank it right up, you get this massive amount of extra low-end flub, especially in a small amp with a smaller speaker. Like the output transformer's flipping going to die, the speakers are going to die, everything's like... So if you carve out a whole load of that bottom end using something like a treble booster, what you get back is a load of focus, a load of mid-range, and a real singing kind of sound to really help you cut through. So that's why you run it before something that's overdriving.
Yes.
Fair?
Very fair.
And congrats to the missus, whatever has happened with her. And nice of her to buy you a present. Shouldn't you have bought her one? But anyway. Good. I don't know what got the academic equivalent of made means. I don't know what that means. Someone may have to qualify that. Apologies for not understanding.
No.
Daniel Thornton. Daniel, thank you for the incredibly generous super chat, man. That is very kind of you. He says, file under the agonising reappraisal the band or musician you thought you disliked and then thought better of. Given that both of you played in cover bands, I'm sure this has happened to you. For me, one was Tears for Fears and Roland Orzabal.
Oh, So, I never really got Tears for Fears growing up, but then I sort of grew to like them. And then when Everybody Rule the World came out and that guitar solo just...
The first guitar solo?
The second one.
Oh, right.
I just love it. Just the phrasing of it. And there's a couple
Didn't
of
Neil
lines.
Taylor play that?
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just love that. But I then got into like Songs from the Big Chair and that sort of stuff later on. So it took me a while to warm to them. But when I got was like, they're just masterful. Yeah, there's been a couple of guys of that. Just as you get older, you listen to more stuff and your tastes change.
There's loads, aren't there?
Oh, okay. Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, listened to it,
Didn't get it.
Didn't get it.
Yeah.
And now I listen to it as like there was him
Unparalleled.
just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Doyle Bramall would be a surprise one for me because I remember when Handsome Dave, our friend Dave Durbin, was really into him, and he was just like fanboying over him so hard in the way that people fanboy over John Mayer so hard.
Right.
And so instantly the brick wall goes up.
Yeah, okay.
And I didn't get it because I listened to him play guitar. I'm like, yeah, I don't get it.
Right.
And then, I mean, he's he's up there now for
Yeah,
me
completely.
among my favourite artists of all time ever. So I guess it's true. Jimmy Page was another one. I couldn't stand Led Zeppelin for the longest time because of the dude at the front.
Right.
Just like shouting the whole time, that in a way that didn't sound like Dio or Bon Scott, which I really did like. And then then you just do a complete 180 on it, and you realise the genius of it and how amazing it was, and you love it. So I think it could kind of be anybody, couldn't it? But more surprising than all of that is 80s pop music. I despised 80s pop music in the 80s.
Right.
Because I liked Status Quo, AC/DC, Black Sabbath. And I couldn't understand. I just didn't get it. And now, again, I see the genius in it in a sort of post-Beatles song construction way. And we were talking about this yesterday with some old friends. And about, I don't know, once every 2 or 3 months, I put on Radio 1 just to see what's going on.
Right. Doesn't take long,
And
does
I
it?
fundamentally don't understand it.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that would change. And that's the reason for mentioning the sort of post-Beatles songwriting structure of 80s pop music. Intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, chorus, middle eight, chorus, chorus, end. Ish. Hooks everywhere, big choruses, and that seems to have entirely disappeared.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm just saying I don't understand where you go in.
Yeah.
And the 80s was full of that. Songs, flipping songs and chords, great chords.
Yeah. I was just saying.
And I don't hear that.
I've
now.
been learning because we're doing a bunch of 70s tunes. But there's one tune from 1980. It's actually recorded in 81, was written in 80, which is Tempted, the Squeeze tune.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the chord changes in it for a relatively simple melody. I mean, they're amazing. Yeah. Yeah, it's all... I find films the same.
Right.
Like, I go back to some of the 80s and 90s films and just some like the writing in them and I don't know, they're just... I love good movies. It's been a long time since a new movie came out that I thought that was amazing.
I'm trying to think of an example. Anyway,
Of
I'm
an
sure
old
there
film.
are. War film. The modern glut of war films have all been quite good, I think.
Right.
Yeah, but like modern blockbuster movies.
Yeah. There's a film that came out.
Stand there, go, ow, we'll do the rest.
There's a Netflix film that came out. It's like $302 million, the most expensive streamed film to be made.
Yeah.
And it's just got absolutely hammered by the critics, but it doesn't matter. And everyone still watches it.
Right.
It goes straight to number one in all the streaming charts.
Yeah. What is it?
Because it's this thing about robots. It's got Millie Bobby Brown in it from Stranger Things.
Right.
And Chris, what's his name? Peter. Anyway. And it's a real spectacle and the effects and everything are great, but the story, it's just lame and sad. Anyway.
So it doesn't compare to Reacher, is what you're saying, Dan. Dan and I both
But I love
massive
Reacher.
fans of Reacher.
Oh my goodness, it's so great. It's so good.
That guy, the other guy who's in it.
7'2". I saw him interviewed the other day. He's 7'2".
I thought it was CGI.
No, he is a monster.
Anyway, more interestingly, Vulcan Paramoose wants to know how much my 335 weighs. It's not a lightweight. It's actually pretty heavy. I would say it's almost 9 pounds, probably.
Yeah. Everyone's saying Reacher is awesome. Love Reacher. Yes, Chris Pratt, Electric State. That's the name of the film.
8.5, maybe 8.5 pounds. This one's considerably lighter, although still not a complete lightweight. which is ironic because when I went to the Gibson Memphis factory and walked around with Mike Volts, he was picking out centre blocks going, look, we picked these because they're really light for the Rusty Anderson 335, 59335.
Right.
Which I should have bought. But I missed them. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. It will be a Simon V. RDJ. Hello, Simon.
G'day,
nice to hear
mate.
from you, buddy. He says, Gentle Pods. My two Boss EV30s aren't cutting it.
Mm-hmm.
Only 70% performance after tweaking. Suggestions on replacements. More or less is on the want list. So Boss EV30 is what? Expression pedal?
Yeah. So again, it depends what you're using it for. I know loads of people that like it for certain things. There's some really good options out there. So the mini one, I would say, is the Yamaha VP. Is it the volume expression? It's the mini version, the Mini X. That's a great expression pedal. I like the sweep on that. I really like the Lale expression pedal. I think that's really good.
If you want to buy one and never buy another one,
Yeah.
get a Layla, Leel,
Lale.
however you say it. Lehle. Lele, I've heard
Beg and
people
darling,
say.
please. Lay.
The expression
Got me
pedal,
expression knees.
There's a great bit of documentary of Eric Clapton telling the story of Layla, which is about Patty Harrison.
Right.
And Wonderful Tonight is also about Patty Harrison.
Ah.
And I think there's another song that George Harrison wrote that is also about Patty Harrison,
Right.
who was George Harrison's wife, who ends up with clappers.
Brilliant.
And Layla is the story of Layla and Majdan, some old story. And Majdan goes mad and splits for the jungle, is what Clapton says, because he's obviously had a few bevies. Find it. It's a great bit of film.
Awesome.
Yeah. Wonderful Tonight. What's the Beatles song? Something
Oh.
is about her too. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So she was very popular.
As far as I'm aware. She was certainly popular among members of Eric Clapton and George Harrison collective.
It's great.
Yeah. Right.
David Rustad says Paddy Boyd, her nail polish is on George's Rocky Strat. Oh wow.
There we go. Patty Boyd. Sorry, yes. I'm calling her Patty Harrison because blah, blah, blah. But Patty Boyd, yes. Good. Hang on. What were we talking about?
I don't have any idea.
Oh, we were talking to Simon about expression pedals and saying Lele are a good shout. It depends. I like the little mini ones because I never have to do anything too...
Yeah. The Dunlop one I was saying that is really good.
I never have to do anything too like clever with it. So there's this DoD one, Dodd one.
The one I like about the DoD one, if you have a look at the back of this, you've got your TRS options are just there on a simple foot switch. That's all that needs to be. That's where Boss sort of missed the game because they only had one option, but they missed out the most important one. So lots of pedals, you need a special cable for the Boss one.
Or, as the Dunlop Mini volume is, you have to go inside it to change it, which is a pain in the behind.
Yeah.
Whereas, so for example, I've got this plugged into my Catlin Bred Bell Epoch Deluxe at the weekend, and I use it to vary the delay level. In TRS, it doesn't do that job, but in RTS, it does.
Bingo.
Happy days.
What's his name-o?
The only thing that annoys me about this,
Yes.
it needs some bushes
Okay.
either side of the...
Oh, okay. By the the ding dong.
Yeah. Marvin Box. Hello, Marvin. Hi, Marvin. We're not laughing at you. Dan's laughing at a reference just made. He says, no questions today. I'm just recovering from the flu. Oh, we're sorry to hear that,
Oh,
Marvin.
mate.
That is...
Sorry to hear that.
That is... Yeah. Please take one from the chat and have a nice week. And you, buddy, we hope you feel
get
better.
There's a lot. I know, I hate this saying there's a lot of that going around, but there's a lot going around at the moment. I know so many people who are ill or just getting over like illness. During our Spinal Tap talk, someone asked if the gig rig switches sound better in Dumble.
Okay, the question from the chat is from Brian R. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Brian.
He says, if I play my Telecaster every day, should I put it in the case, still put it in the case or gig bag when I'm not playing it?
I don't believe so.
The only reason for so doing would be if you have a boisterous animal or child that's likely to damage it. Otherwise, no. Or if you live in a like a bonkers climate and your house goes from really damp to really dry or really cold to really hot.
If you live in a cave, basically, that's not good.
And that's not as popular as it once was.
No, I don't do this myself, and I should. One thing to do, it depends on if you've got very acidic hands, is once you finish playing, just give the strings a quick wipe. If you do have acidic hands, but
as a general note on that, actually, if you do find yourself where your strings are going rusty and you do seem to have acidic hands, try some strings that aren't nickel coated. I've been through this with so many people where they go, oh man, my hands just eat my strings. You've probably got a nickel allergy, so try some that aren't nickel wrapped. Anyway, I'd go further on the guitar thing and say I've got guitars that hate being in their cases and gig bags, and they're angry with me when they come out. And they never want to... Mind you, I'm having a terrible trouble with tuning at the moment. I think my guitars all need a good setup.
Yes, that's it.
But it's even worse if they spend too much time in their cases.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're like, I hate you. Left me in there.
Oh, this is interesting. PD says, I got my tickets for Floyd's Pompeii on 17mm IMAX. I can't believe it took Sony buying the rights to Pink Floyd entirely for someone to raid the vaults and find the original long-lost negative.
70mm. That's nuts.
Wow.
That is absolutely nuts. I really want to see that, because you're going to have to handle that very carefully and do a very, very careful job of deciding what to do with that.
Right.
Because you want to treat that
with respect.
I don't mean in terms of damaging it and all the rest of it. Of course, they'll do that as part of the course. But what do you then do? How much do you treat it?
Yeah.
Because if you see well-shot 70mm film, nothing looks anything like it.
Really?
It just, the colour, you won't believe.
Isn't there
It's the equivalent of hearing a 100-watt Marshall through a 412 and hearing a digital modelling amp with, sorry, no disrespect, but that's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
There was some, I like watching NASA documentaries, and especially the old Apollo missions. And there's some of those films that were shot like in 3D on 70mm and stuff. And, and the colour, it's astonishing. And it's just inherent in the film, right? There's no...
Can be, yeah.
Yeah.
Film, lenses, all of that stuff.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. And when you see it, yeah, anyway. Were we answering a question?
I think, did you not ask?
Oh yeah, it was from the chat. I think we answered it. Good. Gabe, hello Gabe. Dan, quick question.
Yes, mate.
Was the AB Baby discontinued in favour of the Humdinger? I can't find it on the Grr website.
No, it's there. It's there. We have them in stock. ABY, BABY.
Yeah,
Let me just
put that in. Can't find it. In the meantime, I shall move on to Adam Dobbs while Dan looks for it and make sure it's there. Actually, do you know what? I think I was looking for something I couldn't find on the Gig Rig website.
Here it is.
Just recently.
AB Baby.
It's there.
It's right there.
It's there, AB
42 5-star reviews, I'll have you know.
Really?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you just go to the gig rig, so shop.thegigrig.com and ABYBABY.
Oh, I need to get some power stuff off you.
Okay.
If you can do me a deal. My friend Alistair turns up. He says, I've put my pedal together. Ali, if you're watching, forgive me. And he's got this power supply underneath. He says, I don't think it will be too noisy. And I'm like, it bloody will. He turns it on and it's like... I said, stop right there. I'm going to fix that for you.
Okay, yeah, let's sort it out. Yeah, it's such a thing. It's such a thing.
Yeah. Adam Dobbs, I realise my Reason Rich Robinson amp, JTM 45-ish, has an effects loop. I've never used loops before, but I like to crank the amp, so I'm curious about the Surfy Bear or the White Whale. Do you prefer one over the other? I prefer the sound, ultimately, of the reverb in the Surfy Bear because I like long, traditional Fender type reverbs. So that's the reason for choosing the Surfy Bear. The reason for choosing the White Whale is it is a third of the size, and if you like the shorter, it does do a simulation of a long tank, but if you like the shorter reverbs, which Dan does more than the big long ones, you would choose that.
I would choose the headroom.
Yeah, so Dan would actually choose the Carl Martin headroom, which is not here.
Is it not here?
It's probably over the road.
Right.
But I'm not sure they still make it. And could it take an effects level?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it could. It's only 9 volts. I don't think they're doubling it internally.
Yeah.
So
it's just you, depending on how the effects loop is set up on your amp. You just need to make sure it's not giving too much level for the pedal to take. Good thing about the White Whale, it's pretty modern and they just know their stuff. So I'd be astounded if it didn't work well into modern effects loops.
Right.
Surfy Bear, I don't know if I've ever tried it into a loop. It's a tough one, that. But I would choose the White Whale because it's so much easier to deal with.
Yeah. And it does sound great.
But that, look at it. It's crazy. Plus...
That is a pedal board.
12 volt centre negative, so that's a pain. Centre positive, sorry. If things like that annoy you as much as they annoy me. But if you want that classic... absolutely classic Fender long tank reverb thing, that one. If you want just a great sounding reverb, remember that also has tremolo in it and a really good boost.
Yeah.
The White Whale is a really good shout. But having said all of that, you might be surprised at this. When the amp's dirty like that, I actually prefer a digital plate reverb over a spring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I find it a bit easier to deal with because
Right.
the spring just goes
That's
all over the
interesting.
place, whereas the plate, it makes it sound a bit more studio-y. And you can get little room if you've got like something like the Source Audio Collider, you'd have delay on it as well. Or so any other reverb pedal that does a room sound, and that's killer. That's killer, which obviously a spring reverb can't. But sorry, bit of a tangent there.
I've had a realization about reverb. I only like spring.
Oh, really?
At the moment, this week, but I'm taking the CXM off. I'm just going to have delay on the board. Probably just going to have the Princeton and the headroom on top of the high watt, and just switch it with a remote switch.
I think I understand partially where you're coming from, because live those things are hard work.
It's the mix control.
Recording-wise.
It's like the mix. I go a millimetre too far,
Yeah.
and I'm gone.
But you could pull all the other 3 sliders down.
Yeah, I could.
But I get it. I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's quite hard to manage, isn't it?
It is.
Because all of a sudden then you hit it with a gain pedal and it's like, whoa!
And for what I need, because the headroom has got 2 different reverb settings on there.
Yeah.
And I just switch between like one that's always on and the other one that's more. That'll do. That'll do, pig.
Spring is good, summer is better, says Stephen Parker.
I cannot wait till it. We've had a couple of days where it's been warm and sunny, and I just feel like coming out of a cocoon. And it's going to get to 19 degrees this week.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's quite good, actually, because
Wonderful.
even I moaned about the cold this week, and that is very rare. Stefan says, hi, Matt. Hi, Dan. Sorry I'm late.
Yep, Stefan, it's okay. You
Yeah.
made it, mate.
It's Mick, just for the record. But anyway. Anyway. I hope that helps, Adam. And another Adam Lockett. Hello, Adam.
Another thing.
Adam Lockett wants some tips on balancing bridge and neck pickups.
Yeah.
Humbucker in the neck, P90 in the bridge. Individually, both sound great in the centre position. Individually, both sound great, but in the centre position, the neck is too dominant. Altering heights improves slightly, and I have tested phase, so they are in phase. Yeah, that's a really good thing
Very
to do.
important.
It's a perennial problem, isn't it? Especially with any sort of Gibson guitar, or any guitar for that matter, but Gibsons especially. Look, back here. Right, this string's biggest vibration point is here.
If I play that.
When it's played open.
Yeah.
And
If I play there, it's there. But it's always further down, right?
it's always closer to this pickup than it
Yeah.
is that one.
Yeah.
By the time you get back to here, not much vibration really. So the actual physical difference in what those two things is doing is flipping colossal. And to get them to balance, if you start listening for it, is a real challenge. Dan likes neck pickups. And
I like
you
bright
use
neck
it.
pickups, yeah.
And the one way Dan deals with it on his telly is he is disconnected the tone control from the neck pickup. That makes it considerably brighter, a bit harder on a humbucker. I don't know what difference it would make on a humbucker. Would it make much difference?
I've done the same on the SG.
Have you? And it really works?
Just a little bit.
Okay, so you could disconnect the tone control on the neck pickup, or you could warm up the bridge pickup to make it closer to the neck and change all your amp settings accordingly.
Yeah.
So you've got to change one or the other.
Yeah.
I think the heights thing is a really good shout, so you get more clarity. If it's really not working, have a look at a seriously underwound neck humbucker as a replacement, and that will sound considerably brighter and lighter. I mean, I'm not joking. I use live when I play Gibsons. I'll use my Les Paul, all the 335. I pretty much never use the neck pickup.
Right.
Unless it's a clean sound and I've got a specific booster to do the job. But neck pickup, it's just always. So that's how I deal with it.
Okay. You go bridge or bridge and middle.
And almost never bridge and middle.
Really? So it's
Yeah.
mainly the bridge.
Live, yeah.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, no, I get that. I would say on the telly live, I'm 90% on the bridge.
actually, to be fair, on the 345 when they're out of phase, I use that sound because that's way thinner, and I can just get that exact balance in that mid position.
Yeah.
Clean sound's different, right? If you are playing a choppy rhythm part and it is a clean sound, then middle position for always, anything slightly funky, that works great. But distortion sounds, the one, unless you're specifically going for Clapton, woman tone, cream type, super woolly vocal, I will use the neck pickup for that sometimes.
Right.
But again, probably middle and roll all the tone off the bridge pickup.
Okay.
And that seems to do that sound. So that's one way to do it. Go for an underwound pickup, I would say.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard.
Kalamazoo was asking if our Les Pauls are weight relieved in any way. No. Just as the Lord intended them, they are.
Dan's is probably 8.5.
Yeah.
This is a shade under 8. It's one of the lightest standards that I played recently. It's just
it's a monster.
Dan's sounds more like Jimmy Page. Mine sounds lighter and less like Jimmy Page.
Roughborn Legend says, is it worth having an R8 or an R9 Gibson Les Paul? I've got a normal standard. It's only worth it if it's worth it to you, but if you're really into Les Pauls, they are a different thing.
You go and play some and see if you can... So I played... Sorry to interrupt, Dan.
No.
I played some standards that are more like... I'm going to try not to say better, worse, or whatever, but there is something about the most vintage type. We're talking about 57 to 60 type Les Pauls, right? So R7s, R8s, R9s, and R0s. And some standards, because bear in mind, they have changed really radically
they
over the years, the standard. And some are kind of similar, and some of them are so far away, the only thing similar is the shape. And that's not to say better, worse, whatever. It's just to say different. So if you like the sort of sound and feel and what that 57 to 60, 58 to 60 type Les Paul does, then yes, I would say the custom shop ones are absolutely 100,000% worth the investment. Because they're a different game when you find a really good one.
Yeah.
And I have to say, a great many that I've played, I've really, really liked.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but only if you want that. Like, if you want to go for the slash 80 sound, then I think one of those 80 standards almost does a better job of that, personally.
Didn't he use a 59 in those tracks, or was that later on?
He had one, but I'm not sure that's what the Guns N' Roses stuff was recorded on. But
right.
Just that very thick, heavy rock thing. I think the 80s ones are great for that.
Right.
But oh man, it's so hard. And then you might pick one up that you absolutely love, and you pick the next one up and you really don't.
Yeah, it took me a long time to find this one, but I dig it. What were you saying about? You mentioned something about the because I've got on my SG the 62 was a couple of the tuners are a little bit, they rattle, and I've got to get them to a point where they bite. And you mentioned something about there's a really good tuner that you can replace them with.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't you?
No.
Okay. I wonder if it was Paul.
Yeah, they are. There's a lot of flex in my old Strat ones as well. You have to come up to it.
Yeah, you've got to come up to it and get it so it bites.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But
oh, John Pardo says all the classic GNR stuff is on a replica of a 59.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I remember hearing Guns N' Roses going. I was in two minds when I first heard it. I was almost blown away, but I'm like, I don't quite understand what's going on because of all the stuff that I'm listening to at the moment. This is so far. It's like hearing
a tribute band.
Yeah, but it was like when I first heard Remedy on the radio.
Right.
Same thing. It was like, this is a sound from a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh no, I was the opposite
but
with
then,
that record.
Then I heard
Welcome George
the
and Bungle.
live version of Paradise City.
Oh yeah.
With Slash going off at the end, and I'm like, oh my god, he's unbelievable. Yeah, he's a serious guitar player.
It was the world was ready for it, wasn't it, in 1987
so
or whatever it was. Do you have 50s wiring in your Gibson, says Johnny T? Yes. 100% yes.
Yeah.
And that does make a significant difference to helping that helping the range of tones through the pots travel. We would certainly recommend it. But yeah.
David Dixon says, Dan, what do you think of the JCM 800 sound? It's that sound. It is undeniable. When we did the interview many years ago with the guitar player from Bring Me the Horizon, who was a massive JCM 800 guy, and you hear it, and he was, down tunes, and it's such a brutal, beautiful noise, the JCM 800 thing. I just think that's an amp that was it was so right. It was so perfect for the time, and with the music that was happening, and it allowed guitar players to do something that they hadn't before. I remember hearing Steve Stevens on a JCM 800. Just thinking it was.
I don't know how different they were than the 2203 master volumes that preceded them.
Right.
There's a video coming out in a minute where I play 4 Marshalls, and one is just a 78 2203 master volume,
right,
which is obviously just before JCM 800. It's just, they're all awesome. They're all completely awesome, but oh man, what a different world that was. What a different world. Right, Scott Curry says, can't stand Axl Rose's voice. I'm with you, Scott. I can't do it. But there we are. Millions of people can. Big love, and I guess that's Slancher, is it? To all, says Byron Krause's big dog. Or it could be Santé. Please take one from the chat. Thank you, Byron. I don't know if that's Irish pronunciation or whatever, but forgive me if I have it wrong. I think, did they say Slancher in Ireland? Put us right. We'll take one from the chat. Come on.
Okay, so Johnny T says, do you have 50s wiring in your Gibsons? This is really interesting, and Mick heard this in this guitar.
We did just answer that.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, but that's good because you're adding to the detail, Daniel.
Yeah. So Mick heard this in this guitar, and I'd always loved the sound of this guitar. And Mick's going, I don't think that's 50s wiring in there. And I'm like, I'm sure it is. And it turns out it wasn't. And I changed the 50s wiring, and it's just a matter of swapping a couple of leads around. The difference is, if you like bright, clear, and articulate, and it's okay not to, but bright, clear, and articulate, the 50s wiring especially in humbuckers, makes a big difference. And so I immediately went and double checked all my humbucker guitars to make sure they're all 50s wired. But I didn't think it would make as much difference as it does, and it really does.
Especially with vintage type pickups as well.
Yeah.
It really does make a big difference.
Yeah.
I don't know what the downside is. There must be a downside because there's no such thing as a free lunch, and everything is a yin and yang in this world. So there must be a downside. If anyone knows what it is, let us know.
Yeah.
David Rustad. Hey, David.
Hey,
he
mate.
says, I've been on I'd Rather Go Blind by Etta James 1221 over and over. Nothing better than simplicity to reconnect with guitar. 2-chord state of mind. Nice. Weirdly, I saw a video of Beth Hart doing that over the weekend for some reason.
She's fantastic.
Have
you ever done that where you've just grabbed one song and just played it over and over and over for like an hour?
No.
Okay.
Unless I'm learning it.
Right.
I've done it with albums where I only listen to an album for a week.
Right. I've done that on the odd occasion with a song where it's like, I just need to keep hearing it. Yeah. But just, from Dave Rostag going, he's hooked on it, and like every now and then I get hooked on a song.
Yeah, getting over it.
Yep.
So you're saying it's 1 2 2 1. Does that mean it's like is it like A major and B minor, is it?
So that'll be it.
Nice. Yeah, man. Another one is Dreams by Fleetwood Mac.
Oh yeah.
So I've gone from playing in no bands to having 2 bands then. And on one band I play the big guitar into that. It's one of my favourite songs to play. There is an A minor there somewhere.
If you but then yeah, so good. We're doing
Spice World. Oh, no way. It's vocally challenging.
That sounds amazing. It's so good.
And then you get to play the Formula One theme tune. For those of you who don't know, and if you, it would be fine not to know, the Formula One theme tune is The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. I didn't know that for about 20 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, let's move along. Nice. 2-chord State of Mind, David. We love it. Why not? Gives you a chance to think about it for a minute, doesn't it? Or indeed not think about it.
But you think about that song and the writing of that song and that melody, and it is so strong.
Yeah.
There are a couple of songwriters like that. Like when I hear what Andy Partridge from XTC does, when I hear what he does with the melody over chords, it's like whenever I hear those chords now, I can only hear him singing something over it. There's some songwriters are able to do that, and that's a really good example of that song. As soon as you hear that melody over it, it's like, that's so perfect. It's so perfect.
DB7 says, D&M, was just wondering if you're ever going to get a chance to listen to the vinyls I sent you before Christmas. Much love from DB7. Oh God, that's bad if we haven't, isn't it? And I haven't. So yes, we will. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. And you'll have to fill us in, DB, who you are, because somebody that came to an experience day, I think, sent us some vinyls, and somebody left some here. So apologies for our ignorance. Yeah. Paul Matulovic says, happy birthday, Mick. Thanks,
Yay.
Paul. It was Saturday. What are your favourite distortions? Thorpe Warthog would be number 1, I think. Because I like that a lot. The Hertz by Latent Lemon Audio.
Ah, yeah, come on.
Absolutely love. It's pretty groovy. Thorpe Warthog number 1 though, because I can kind of deal with it and I understand. I understand what it's doing. And who could forget the venerable, wherever it is, that we had the other day, the old MXR.
Oh, Distortion Plus.
Distortion Plus.
Yeah, man. I heard this overdrive pedal today that I'm going to go and buy.
I also want to mention the Cunningham.
Oh, the dual fuzz.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a...
Lots of fuzzes that you can just turn down and get a distortion sound. Plenty of Marcus Reeves' stuff. So yeah, there's too many to mention. Dan, sorry, you were saying.
No, I heard this one today that I'm going to go out and purchase.
It's hilarious, isn't it? How long's he been doing this? How many overdrive pedals do we have?
I know, but so it's by a company called Aqua Audio.
Right.
And
Hello, Bobby. Let's go party.
This pedal is called Gain Sarcasm Cranked Distortion. So I heard this today and I'm like, it's honestly one of the most dynamic high gain overdrive. It's not even high gain, they turn it down and it was just beautiful.
Unfortunately, they've just sold out.
Yeah, but that was amazing. So there's a couple that I really dig. You know, obviously I still love the who do I love, Mick? The Kingsley stuff. Depending on where I'm at with the rig, it'll either be the Page or the Harlot or something. My Jester needs some love, which is going to have a look at. But at some point, there's always a
It's all
Kingsley on
overdrive,
there.
though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not really distortion.
No, I know.
Even though it's the same thing. But...
Yeah, but that so. The Barber distortion is awesome.
Tone pump.
And
tone press.
Rat.
Oh, Rat. Yeah, how could we forget the Rat?
The Rat. I was having a listen today to a Rat and going, oh, that's pretty magical.
There you go, Paul. Hopefully that answers the question. This is from Churbin Onid Hog. Churbin Onid Hog.
Dennis Eaton Hog.
Yeah.
At the School for Pasty Young Boys.
Bobby Fleckman.
The hostess with the mostess. You know.
You know. Churbin Onid Hog 623. Churbin Onid Hog the 623 says, I've rewatched the Dumble episode dozens of times to transcribe Dan's etude. And every once in a while, Mick plays something that makes my jaw drop. Thank you. Thanks for all the good vibrations, y'all.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Churbin. Yeah, it was quite, I remember it distinctly. Dan is an epic noodler, as you know. And sometimes it can take a minute for the noodle to land. The noodle to land, where he just finds a place, finds that place, and then whatever happens next. That was literally, he plugged in and boom, it just came out. One stream of consciousness. You were completely taken by it. You were totally hooked by it. And we were all stood here watching going, something just happened there.
I was shaking at the end of that.
Yep.
That is, you know, again, I don't want to add more fuel to the Dumble thing, but I've never plugged into anything like that before. There really is some magic in that amplifier, and I was just there, and it was weird because it wasn't just you and me. We had Jake and Charlie in, who are both awesome.
Well, we got them in specifically so it wouldn't just be me and Dan going, oh my god, it's the best thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember plugging into that thing going, this is it. Was that instant connection. It was very, very beautiful.
Actually, a couple of quick questions. Somebody mentioned John Fruin, the Jam Rattler. Yes, John, thank you for mentioning the Jam Rattler. That is right up there with favourite distortions as well. Yeah,
completely.
Dan mentioned the Rat, but the Rattler kind of is subtly different. And the version 2 is absolutely killer if you get a chance to listen to that as well. And then there was a question from AS saying, Mick, have you tried the new Mythos Envy TS808 style? Yes, we have, and we did a show with it the last time we looked at Tube Screamers, and we were very impressed because of a couple of particular features it has on it. I liked it a great deal, actually. So have a look back through the show list find the last 2 shows we did on Tube Screamers, and it features very heavily in one of those. I can't quite remember which. Apologies. Non-aligned says, have you encountered a split coil humbucker that you like and enjoy?
No.
No.
The best ones I've found, I played at your DGT.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Sound I literally never use.
Yeah, but I think it's a very, very hard thing. But I've heard the DGT sound nice.
I don't know where the DGT is. The reason I don't use it in the DGT, and I never have used it in the DGT, is because it's got a treble bleed. So if you've got a nice sound on and plenty of volume, you just turn the humbucker down and it sounds thin and fine anyway. No need to make it any more increased thinness.
Yeah.
And just to be like really moaning about it, the last thing I want to hear on a carved top, mahogany back, maple top guitar is a single coil pickup. Unless it's a P90, but typically I want to hear a PAF. So I don't know why you'd want it. Now, things all change a bit. If you've got like a Strat type guitar, for example, and you've got a humbucker and you want to get a single coil sound out of that, that's a different game. And there must be some that sound okay, but
someone was saying the Joey Landreth Duesenberg signature is very good. I'm sure it would be great.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm totally in my own head about it. Like, that's what I want that guitar to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I want that guitar to be.
Yeah.
And that'll do.
That'll do, pig.
Except I am getting a dual mini humbucker S-type guitar. But that's what I want that guitar to be.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
I don't want it to have...
No, I hear you.
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It doesn't matter at the end of the day.
It's only the pickups that make any difference. It's only the pickups that make any difference after all.
It's funny, I don't know if were in your rehearsals, which isn't to say they don't sound good, by the way. Non-aligned, I'm sure they're great, and all those things, you know, used in the right way, playing something appropriate, it's going to sound fantastic, isn't it?
Of course.
And on that, I don't know if you've thought this far ahead, or indeed can bear the thought of it. I was having a thought today after rehearsals at the weekend. You know, when we talk about guitar tone, it's important that it sounds good, right?
Yep.
And I'm of the opinion it doesn't really matter how good you are guitar player wise, as long as you can play competently enough to play the piece. So at the point you can play competently enough to play the piece, doesn't really matter how good you are after that.
Yep.
What matters after that is that you sound good. So if you sound bad,
yeah,
the harmonics are all off, the intonation is off. It doesn't matter how well you play, I don't think. And I had this massive realization that is true for bands.
Yeah, completely.
So the band has to work as a harmonic whole.
Yep.
And of course that's what mixing is all about. I get it, right? But sometimes I don't think about it in that way from a live performance. And you have to sound good. I know it sounds like the stupidest thing in the world to say, but it doesn't matter how good you all are as musicians. You have to sound good.
Yeah.
And then if you sound good, then you can worry about being a better musician, I think.
Yeah.
In a band context. I mean, obviously,
I agree.
playing by yourself, work on it, get great. Of course. But in the band, oh man, strip everything back, start from scratch. Like I've said to the guys, 2 guitars, bass, vocals, we need to get in a room, and I want to work all the parts out.
Yep.
Because we have to start there.
Yeah. So what we do is, one week we have full band rehearsal.
Yeah.
Next week's just a vocal rehearsal.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant.
Because when everyone's banging away at 76.7 watts.
That makes no difference.
Yeah.
But then the following week, when it's band rehearsal, it's all arrangements and making sure that's all tight. And then when you hear them together, that's magic.
It might sound like it's incredibly obvious to you guys, but I've never really thought about it like that. Anyway, blah, blah, blah.
Itsu says, "Hi Dan, will you share some experience of the new Kingsley Reeve pedal on your board? I thought it's a modified Harlot." So it is. It is it's not as mid forward, which in my rig at the moment is perfect. Really powerful EQ on it, and I think it does a lower gain sound. It's a bit clearer and a little bit sweeter for me than the Harlot. But it has all the gain of the Harlot, which is great. But having the bit lower, a little bit chimier thing for me is, you know, his stuff is so touch sensitive, right? And it's so dynamic. And his designs, you know, he can put the gain and the feel of it in any area he wants. As for me, it's like he's taken the Harlot and he's just extended it down, the gain range down a little bit further to keep all the sweetness in it. And yeah, I'm really digging it. That into the high watt, oh my word.
We get the potential psychological stress that buying one of Simon's pedals will bring with it, the Kingsley pedal, because he does make quite a lot of pedals that do a broadly similar thing, which is not to say they're all the same, okay, that's not what I said. And if you're a player of Simon's ability, bringing out all that nuance in each of those pedals is not tremendously difficult to do. Once you get out into the real world of like me and Dan and everybody else, it's like, what the hell one do I choose? And we've got a great many of Simon's pedals, and every single one of them we can plug in and go, oh yeah, there it is.
So amazing.
There it is.
Yeah.
So we get the kind of, I'm sure Simon's inbox is full of people going, I'm not quite sure about this or this or this or this. What should I get?
Yeah.
I find that there is a sweet spot in all of them, which tells you it's a Kingsley pedal.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. It's that dynamic thing. When you dig in, it limits in the most extraordinary way. Yeah, I'm such a fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my favourite thing about Simon, though, is just being in the room with him when he's playing.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring just to hear him.
I'll have all the pedals, please.
Yeah,
Simon.
yeah, whatever. Yeah. If I can do that and then play like that, yes, please. Yeah, what an astonishing guitar player.
Thomas Eichinger. Hi, Thomas. Hey, D&M. Had my 40th birthday on March the 9th. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, mate.
Hopefully no existential crisis to go with it. That's what I had on my 40th birthday.
Did you?
50 I loved.
Right.
I was like, yeah, I'm ready for this. 40,
okay.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
not so good.
Yeah, I was a little bit similar.
Yeah. I did exist solely in my own mind when I was 40, though. I hadn't glanced at any presents.
Okay.
By that point, so I was unable to see outside of anything.
Okay.
Yeah. Totally mind identified. I got myself a Greer Lightspeed, says Thomas.
Nice. So good.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Mick. No cue today. Take one from the chat, please. Dan was playing with the Greer Lightspeed last week.
It was. Wonderful. Here we go. Tia Alva, any recommendation for a great versatile delay? Versatile? I've gone back to having the timeline on my board.
Strymon Timeline.
Strymon Timeline.
Boss DD500.
DD500. Killer.
Boss
DD200
if you want to spend a bit less.
Amazing. The flight time, very versatile. The Line 6 DL4, the new version, super versatile. All depends what you're after.
Versatility versus price.
Yeah,
I'm going to say this.
Winner. Yeah,
versatility
size on the board.
All right, let's draw a triangle. Versatility, price, UI.
Yeah.
What's in the middle?
That. Yeah, that's perfect.
Isn't it?
So all I would say is all of those pedals, DL4, Timeline, DD200, DD500, Flight Time, Future Factory. Should also mention the Source Audio is it the Ventus? No, the Nemesis
with ADT.
The ADT analog drive-through.
Actually, this is utterly killer.
This thing is incredible. Now, all I would say is, no matter which way you go, they're all going to have a learning curve. I don't think there may be some slight sonic differences, but they all sound great. They can all be made to sound great. The thing is, if you can spend some time with it, once you get your head around the way that the UI works,
that's the crucial thing.
That's the crucial thing, because then you can make it do anything you want.
Yeah.
But it's getting to grips with it. And the thing for me, because I'm so busy learning tunes with the song, because I know the timeline so well, I don't have to think about it. I can edit it, store it, bang, and that preset's ready to go for that song. And, it sounds great. I may yet have a tape delay off the board, but I'm definitely going to have my spring reverb there. But I can get everything from my ping pong delay to the swells thing that I use. It's got the onboard looper, which I can jump into quickly via MIDI. So it's more that I understand the UI and it does everything that I need it to do, as opposed to which one sounds best. I mean, like the most flexible, best sounding thing, if I had to pick one, would be the Empress Echo system. I think sonically, that thing is astonishing. But there's a couple of things I need, and I know so well with the timeline. But yeah, have a play. Go to a guitar store that's got a few of these in. Just have a play and grab the one that you feel. One of them you go, oh, I like this. This feels home to me, and that'll be it.
Brian Carpenter makes a great point. Thank you, Brian. He says, is it just me, but I'm more of a fan of a specific delay pedal where I don't have the option paralysis. If I want this sound, I use this pedal. I'm with you on that. That's kind of why I've gone back to the Bell Epoch Deluxe, because, to be fair, the Free Discern Future Factory had 4 presets that were in there that were 4 very specific delay sounds, and that works totally great, and I could get my head around it. But if you want to change anything on the fly, it is a bit of a head mess, which again is why Bell Epoch Deluxe, 1 knob twist, if you can read the decals.
Yeah.
Just doosh, done.
Yeah, great.
No mucking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we are.
Well done.
Lots of very enlightened people out there, Dan, saying ages is the number. I felt the same all my life. Excellent.
That's amazing.
That's good. That means things are changing. We have hope. Not that we need hope. And happy birthday, Thomas. Happy. It's whether it is or it isn't, it is a milestone.
Yeah.
Lefty, who I believe used to be Lefty O bass maybe, but is now Lefty. Ahoy there, peg legs. My first non-master volume, Marshall SV20 Tiny Plexi Combo. It arrived on Saturday with a monotone T too. Thank you very much for buying a T.
Thank you, buddy.
You were right all along. Wet dry with Cali Tweed equals tone heaven. Thanks for the inspiration.
Unreal.
Gas.
Unreal.
I've been trying to get away from wet dry. So again, rehearsing yesterday, add me 2 rock, because that's always where it begins.
Yeah.
And I just put that little 110 bareface with a little amp on top of it to run the rotary speaker through.
Right.
It's killer.
Yeah.
Look at that little tiny 110 with an EV10L in. It's EV10M, sorry. The fabled
amazing
speaker. I think I had a Victory V40 on it, which you'll see in a vlog coming up, but also the PRS HDRX20, just to run the Rotosphere, and that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough extra.
Yeah, great.
But then I swapped out my 2-rock for the Marshall.
Right.
On that new 212 cab.
Yeah.
The weirdo Fender red one.
Yeah.
Killer.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not better than the 2-rock, but
No.
just utterly killer. Normally, when I use the 2-rock, if I swap anything out for it, it's like,
Yeah.
right. Okay, it's good, it's great, but it's not me. The Marshall, I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow, this is working. So
Yeah. So
that's what I'm going to do.
So I'm going back to a fully wet dry thing with, it'll either be I really want the high watt to work because I'm so in love with that sound. If I can't get the high watt to work, it matches to the AC30 or something. And the Princeton. The Princeton, generally, just the Princeton with a bit of gain and every now and then flanger.
Yeah.
But be just that and all the effects going to the high watt.
I think you could be barking up the right tree with the speakers, whether those Peacekeepers are going to be too much.
Yeah.
Because that G12H is a particularly... It has a very, very present and punching voice, and it is very efficient.
Yeah.
Much, much more so than a greenback.
Yeah.
So it could be that you try the Peacekeepers, but it might be that you end up with something between.
Sure.
Sorry, we're now talking amongst ourselves.
It's been when we're in here because we can get to turn up and we're trying to reproduce the feel of being in the band, right? And the sounds that we had got with the high watt recently, certain things clicked for me. And one of the things that clicked for me was Gilmour. It was like the phaser and the Gilmour thing and that clarity in the top end is like, that's how he does that.
Yeah.
Right. And and that was a moment. And I really want to try and make that work.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really into it.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to attempt this. Cauldron Audio says explain wet dry in 20 words. Okay. 2 amps. Overdrives, distortions, fuzzes to both amps. All modulation and wet effects to 1 amp only.
17
words.
Nice.
Didn't miss anything, did I?
No, it's perfect.
I'll use the final 3. Check the phase.
Flippin' awesome. That's perfect. That's great.
Sorry, of the amps, 23. Now, that is not a description of actual wet dry. That is a description of TPS wet dry. Good. Nice one on the SV20, Lefty. Cool thing. I want to hear one actually.
Yeah.
We've heard the. I mean, they've been out 4 years. We've heard the Silver Jubilee one, the 20 whatever it's called, 25. It would be really good to hear the SV20.
Yeah.
Plexico says, will today be the luck of the Irish with a TPS VCQ bookend? Duncan likes to get first and last super chats. Bless you, Duncan. It's very kind of you. Fat old guy at 5,000 meters. Fat old guy at 5,000 meters says, wet dry works for you, but not stereo? ?
So I've been doing stereo for my rigs recently, which I love. Stereo ping pong delay and a stereo reverb, and it's really great. My issue has been because I love using different amps for the wet dry thing, I can find it's, especially when you turn up. Okay, here's the thing. Stereo is fantastic if you have 2 amplifiers of similar power.
Yeah, or a fully stereo setup.
Right, exactly. But there's, again, power stages. It's exactly the same power. With the wet dry thing, I'll generally have one amplifier that's working a little bit harder. And what tends to happen with that is if I hit a delay, the delays are louder and the amp's working harder and not as loud in the amp that isn't, the amp that's got headroom. So I find that stereo works best if both amps with headroom, and then you get this lovely stereo image. The wet dry thing, where I find the power of the wet dry thing, is that I'm not limited to the power. So the issue that I had in running stereo with my 2 mismatched amplifiers is as soon as I turned up, the lower wattage amplifier started limiting too much and the stereo thing just didn't work. However, if I'm just running my wet effects into the amp with headroom, I can turn up, and the amplifier that's limiting, it just sounds cooler. So I just don't have those problems.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that stereo, what I call the stereo image, having delays into one amplifier and direct in the other one, the image is massive. I'm not hurting for that, the ping pong thing. It just sounds huge, especially if I'm doing modulation into one amplifier, not the other. The space that fills is epic. So yeah. I'm just going fully wet dry now.
Stereo is a permanent decision, isn't it?
Completely.
You have to have stereo all the time if you're going stereo. Otherwise, you're missing half of it.
Yeah.
With wet drying the way Dan and I do it, I mean, Dan's has got slightly more complicated, but with wet drying the way I do it, if I can only take one amp, it doesn't matter because I can have just the wet. I can have all the wet, all my overdrives, all the modulations, everything I need. One amp, fine. The dry part is an addition if you can. And that, for me, makes it more usable than stereo, because if it's stereo, you have to commit to stereo.
Yep.
Further, what do you tell front of house person? Yeah, I'm stereo, mate. I want one that side, one that side.
Yeah.
The people on that side can't hear half your guitar sound.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you would do as an engineer for stereo. Would you pan it like a little bit?
Yeah, maybe. I guess, yeah.
But wet dry, they're both panned in exactly the same place.
Yeah.
So, anyway, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully that explains it. Gene Johung or Yohung, Gene, there's no super chat from you, and BV tells me there is no super chat to you, so sorry if we've missed that. Todd Roy saying, I do wet dry, can't go back to just one amp. I know, I thought I could, but it's such a great sound.
Yeah.
I think
it works. The thing is, the wet dry thing works in a band context.
It depends how dense your band is. Like, we had 3 guitars going in rehearsal, and at that point it's like, okay, I either need to play less or make the sound smaller.
Right.
And then that's a good reason for getting your parts sorted out. But if you think about it, you get your parts sorted out and you get your sound sorted out, that's when it really starts to sound impressive. Yeah. David Burke says, when I play guitar, I always get panned in the same place by the audience. Bless you, David. Mind you, having an audience, that's not too bad, is it? Having an audience, that's a good start. Serial Frost. Hello, Serial Frost. I'm looking for a Vox-style bedroom-friendly companion amp for my Cali Tweed. Was wondering what the leg ends suggest. So you've come in hot with a Morgan AC20, which would be a yes. It depends how hot you run the Cali Tweed. If you play at bedroom levels, what about a Vox AC4?
Vox AC4 is a great shout. I would even say a Vox AC15.
Yeah.
With reverb.
Yeah.
It is such a wonderful amplifier.
Yeah, and compared to the price of something like the Morgan, I think you're getting a tremendous amount of value for money there.
And you stick a blue in it. Order one with the Celestian blue.
Yeah.
And it is so voxy.
Yeah.
The reverb on it is just glorious. And if you're playing at home in your room, having that spring in there is ace.
Yeah. I would say at volume, in a highly serious situation, I strongly suspect the Morgan's going to have more clarity, more depth, a lot of those sorts of things you expect from a boutique amp. But the flip side of that is that can be harder to access at lower volumes. You know, for me personally, the benefit of those, any boutique style ham-wired amp is when it's happening.
Yeah.
Loud. So if you're not going to get it to that level, and I'm just assuming because you're saying playing at home, then I would say AC15 every day of the week.
Yep. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, or a 10. I think, do they still do a 10? There's various, but we like our AC15
really
a lot.
Do.
It's very likable and it's super easy to play. It's onboard tremolo and reverb, so why not?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Paul Matulovic, out of curiosity, what's this about Dan having a 2-rock, and what became of it?
No, so I had a chat with Eli. The thing is, whenever we play in the studio, and we do experience days, and Mick brings out his 2 Rock thing, and it's always the best sound in the room. That amplifier is magical. It would be silly, because I love my Voxes and Vox style things. I love my Matchless, the Z, Dr. Z, Z80. I mean, what, just flipping epic. In my old Voxes, I love that sound. But I also love like the Princeton and, some of the other, the Fendery type things and the 6v6 amplifiers, the Tweed Deluxe and stuff. It would be really fun to work on an amp with Eli, but I don't need any more amps. Because again, the amp I'm most busy about at the moment is an amp that's flipping 60 years old. And this 100-watt thing. But I would just say that I do think Eli makes... His amplifiers are among the best amplifiers I have ever heard. And they always, for me, steal the day when we're in this room. Without fail.
Oh, Dan's been very kind and magnanimous, as he always is. It is a spectacular amp. It's my favourite amp I've ever played, apart from Robin's Dumble.
I think it's because you connect with it so much.
Yeah,
and when you connect with it, because when you hit...
And there's nothing universal about that.
But Mick in the room, being in the room with Mick, and in Mick playing into a 100-watt 2 Rock doing his thing, it is something to behold. It really is.
And quite a lot of people who plug into it just don't get it. Just don't get it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what's weird about it. The closest I've come to it is the 100-watt Marshall.
Really?
In the way that it sort of blooms and has the bigness of the sound.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, the question was Dan's 2 Rock. Yeah, I watch this space, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
and just to say, I think as well, Eli.
This is Eli Lester, by the way, who is the main guy at 2 Rock, although we should mention Max Skinner as well and the other people that work there.
Yeah. When you talk to Eli about amplifiers, it's an inspiring conversation. He loves it. Like with every ounce of his being, he is so into it. And I love talking to people who are into anything when they're passionate about it. But, when you play the 2 Rocks, it's like you can see Eli in there, because he's very much in the soul of those amplifiers. It's very, very cool.
It is. It's worth saying, Dan and I are privileged enough to know a lot of the people that originate this stuff, and there's no doubt that affects you a little bit. When you connect
completely.
with the human, and it's not just. We've talked about this many times. Try not to go onto it too much, but the idea of this of sound and tone and feel and all of those things being this objective, blind test, vacuum sort of environment where you just choose the thing that is best for you. It's cobblers, because there's so many other cognitive things that occur. And that relationship with somebody and whether you get on with them as a person and how much they inspire you as a person. Simon Jarrett would be a prime example of this. Such an inspiring guy to me and Dan personally.
Yeah.
You're drawn to his stuff. Marcus Reeves, all these people that we could say who we have a rapport with, and we're lucky to be in that position, right? But it does make a difference.
Yeah.
And I think you will feel that if you don't know any of the builders personally, or even the artists maybe, you feel it through their music.
Yeah.
So you have a rapport with Jimmy Page, or you have a rapport with whoever the player might be. Yeah. And it's one step removed, but it's the same process.
Yeah. It's the same thing like with my old Voxes. There are arguably amps made today that are better amps and, more Voxy than the old Voxes. But when this old silly old thing from 1961 gets pulled out and those old blues that have just been hammered there is something about knowing that that Vox was around at the time that the Beatles were doing their thing and the Shadows were doing their thing, and
Yeah.
it's a real thing from that era. I approached that amp with a difference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just motivated cognition, absolutely. But if it's real in my head, it's real. So
It's 100%.
yeah,
And the term motivated cognition is thrown around as if to say it's a bad thing. It is how humans work.
yeah,
It's just how humans work in every decision you make, almost, unless you do actually proper true science or pure maths, which you can remove it for the most part.
yeah.
Couple very quick ones. Johnny T wants to know, what's the silver face head behind Dan? Have you used it on vids? It's a Bassman 70. We've used it on a couple of vids. It's my bass rig, is what it is.
It's the coolest thing in the world.
So if Dan just moves to his left for a second, it's a Bassman 70, which isn't actually quite loud enough, on an Ampeg SVT 410. That's my bass rig. Because I've been bassing recently.
Have you tried the
Wallace.
The Wallace?
I have, but it's got some sort of dodgy...
Oh, okay. Because that would be... That's Zeppelin 1.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get an SVT. I'm just trying to figure out if the 100 watt one is loud enough.
Okay.
Because I don't really want the 300 watt one. A, because they're massively expensive. But the 100 watt one, I'm just trying to work out if it's going to be enough. You don't need watts in bass for volume. You need watts in bass for weight.
Right.
Okay. Well, unless you're Nicky Wire, and then you have 4 Ampeg SVT 8x10s. And then finally, sorry, not finally, but Ravens Meat says, do you guys have a band? There is a TPS band that plays every now and again, and we've done short tours and things like that. Dan has his own band. It now seems that I have my own bands. So yes, we do band stuff, if that's the general question. And funny how I was thinking about the TPS band over the weekend, Daniel.
Right.
It was good.
It was good.
It was good. Casey Cole says, K Cole says, if you get an SVT, hire a roadie. I know, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Right, a couple more Super Chai then. Sorry, we have gone over a little bit tonight. Brian Carpenter says, I got a great deal on a Les Paul from the Gibson demo shop with P94 pickups. Do you have any experience with humbucker size P90s? I don't.
I don't.
Yeah, I would assume that it's something I would like. Because, yeah, I do assume that it was something I would probably quite like.
I'd like to know more about them because I wonder what the difference is between those and Jazzmaster pickups.
Well, a humbucker P90 is just like a regular humbucker with full depth coils in a...
Oh, so that's right, humbucker P90. It's not the humbucker sized P90, it's a humbucker P90.
No. It's a... Oh, I see. Sorry, you are absolutely right. My apologies.
Right.
You're absolutely right. A single coil P90, but in a humbucker size.
Yeah.
So the... Oh, yeah, that is really interesting. Yeah, definitely don't have any experience of those.
Yeah, no. But because I you know, we know the P90 sound and that's amazing. But isn't the Jazz... And I always think, well, the Jazzmaster, isn't that P90-ish? But isn't the Jazzmaster more like a Strat pickup?
It's completely different because it's flat. It's much thinner.
It's thinner and wider. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. Why? Anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Maybe we should have a listen, Brian. That's super interesting. Plexico says, today will be the luck of the Irish with a TPS VCQ bookend, please. And then he says again, yes, bookend. But Jeremiah McCann comes in and says, I've got a show idea. Jeremiah McCann. It's really nice to hear from you, Jeremiah. He says, knobs. You must build a pedal board with only 4 pedals. And each pedal can have 2 knobs or less. And whoever wins has the least number of knobs. I love this. I'm going to screenshot it right now.
That's wonderful.
We're doing that, Jeremiah. Thank you so much for the
great idea.
Suggestion. That is killer. That is killer. And Duncan, right at the end.
Well done, mate.
Damn, he says, he's in. You have bookended it. Bless you, mate. It's cost you about $50 tonight. Oh, mate, thank you for your continued generosity, and everyone for your generosity in the super chats. It does help.
It really does, and it is so appreciated. It means that we can all do this and continue to be together and hang out, and it's flipping awesome.
And we can pay the electricity bill. Okay, that's it for tonight then. Thanks everyone for being here. I'll just have a quick dive into the main to make sure we haven't missed anything. Moon says you've got at least 2 knobs. Thanks, mate. Good. Okay. I'm going to finish on a little story tonight as Dan plays us out. I want you to behold this. Dad, if you're watching, do you remember? This is a Mark III Mesa Boogie from the 1980s. And it belonged to a chap called David Miles, who is sadly no longer with us, who I knew when I was a kid because his son Simon was the drummer in our band. David acquired this, bought it from Robbie McIntosh, who bought it or was gifted it from Chrissy Hind, because he was in the Pretenders at the time. So this was Robbie's Mark III, which David Miles bought from him. And the reason it's important to me is because there was 2 guitar players in the town where I grew up. Robbie McIntosh lived there, and a guy called Marco Rossi lived there. And when I would go and see them play, I think the first time I ever saw Robbie play, it was just before he got the McCartney gig, and he would have been using either this or a black one. And I can remember walking into this little venue called Evershot Hall and hearing the guitar sound and going, I have never heard a guitar sound like that in my life. And I don't know if it was this amp or a different one. And my friend
isn't this a perfect excuse to get Robbie on the show?
And my friend Marco Rossi, who Robbie had got a gig for in a band called Kevin McDermott Orchestra, and Marco had one, a black one, and I could not believe that this, because I was using silver panel twins with loud speakers, and I couldn't believe this
made that noise.
So I bought one. My dad helped me buy one, paid 925 quid for it in a flight case, and I used it as my main amp for 2 years, from the ages of 16 to 18 pretty much. So Simon, bless you, Simon Miles, Milo, drummer in the old band, we had a rehearsal and he brought it up because it's been sat in the house, and he said have some fun with that for a minute, because it was his dad's, and so we'll get it on the show. I plugged it in yesterday when the guys were here. It's insanity.
It's 100 watts.
100 watts. I was talking to Jake Loosemore today, and I said it sounds like a chef is throwing boutique knives at you. The kind of knives you want to be thrown at you.
That's great.
It's unhinged. It is utterly unhinged. Anyway, so I just wanted to tell that story and say thank you to Simon, to Milo for bringing it up, and to Sadie, his mum, for entrusting it to us for a minute. Look at that.
There's no reverb or anything in it, is there?
Yeah, reverb. Everything.
It does have reverb.
Yeah, in the back. There you go. Here's the back. I legitimately, when I picked it up, mine lived in a flight case, right? So, and it's been to a tech and it's had a full overhaul, but mine lived in a flight case, so I never really didn't care too much about how much it weighed. But it's insane. I looked in the bottom to see if there's any flaming iron bricks in there, you know?
That is wonderful.
Mark III, yeah. I mean, that was the last. Mark IV, obviously, was on from this, and the Mark V, obviously. But I think this was the end of the utterly unhinged 1x12 combos. I think this was the last of the breed. Would be an interesting show. Wait till you hear it, mate. It's crazy. And makes me feel very nostalgic. Anyway, there you go. I just wanted to tell you that story.
Well, surely we need to give Robbie a call.
Yeah. See if he'll come on. That would be lovely.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. That would be lovely. Play us out then, Dan. There you go. Thanks for the indulgence. PG says all I see is magnet. Yeah. EV. Oh, nice. Reeves Marcus says Matt knows Robbie pretty well. Yeah, I know Robbie pretty well, so I think I'll just phone him and we'll do it. We'll see. We'll see. I know this bass line. It's the funk remix. Jazz remix. See you Friday, people. Not quite sure what the show's going to be yet. Might be fuzz pedals.